Hey, Mateo, could you give me a mic check?
Yep, I can hear you.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Hey Scott,
Hey, how are
good. How you doing?
you? I'm doing good.
You have in Shutesbury?
No.
Where are
I'm
you?
in Notre I'm at Notre Dame headquarters.
Really?
Check it out. It's all Notre Dame stuff. In South Bend? Close, Granger.
Oh, everybody there's a little Notre Dame crazy.
Very much.
Very much. I was visiting my mother-in-law in Champaign-Urbana right during March Madness, and we went to dinner at her retirement community, and I have never seen that many old people in orange, and like they were just they that whole town, it's a Midwest thing for a whole community to be completely devoted to their sports team. It's so cute. Yep. All right. Hi, Mayor. Hi, Bob.
Hey there, Beth. Hey, Scott. Hey, Mayor, but I don't see Mayor.
Yes. Hi, everybody.
And,
Mayor's there. I see
and
Mayor.
Michael's there.
And Michael too.
Hey,
Nice.
Michael.
All right, great. Well, it's 7:01, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Shutesbury Conservation Commission to order. This meeting is being recorded. Welcome, everybody. And first on our agenda is comments from me. And the only thing I have is that we just had a great town meeting on Saturday. I don't know how many of you were able to attend, but it was great. Good job, Mateo
Yeah.
and Mateo's wife.
Yes.
You did a great job. Did you go, Mayor? Were you there?
I was there for a very short period of time to vote and to get garbage bags, and then I had other plans for the day. So um yeah,
You got to see some, so that's good.
yeah, I know.
Um, so at town meeting, the CPA proposals, of course, came forward, and one of them was for the purchase of the footed portion of parcel E2, the footed property, and it got approved. So that was great. That was the Conservation Commission's application to CPA. So yay, it got voted with the thumbs up. So So we'll
Great.
move forward with that with CPA. I think they have to vote, right, Mateo? And then we get our grant agreement going with them. And um, I think the next step for that property is that Kestrel is going to buy the whole parcel
Mhm.
together. The part that they want to have, which is on the east side of Wendell Road, and then this portion that we're going to end up buying from them. And I know that hasn't happened yet. The Footits still own the property. So that'll happen first. Um, and there's a few other things that have to happen, but eventually we would buy that parcel from Kestrel. So exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah, and we'll be adding it to South Brook Conservation Area. It'll become part of that,
Right.
which is great. And it'll have a
How does,
conservation restriction.
how
What?
does that work in terms of the thought that there could be some low-income housing on the east side of the property, that's on Locks Pond? How does that work? Does
Yeah,
the
so that was the funding that we asked for CPA included buying the parcel for 82,000 and then also doing some due diligence kind of investigative work to carve out a 2-acre portion of it along Locks Pond Road for affordable housing.
Okay.
The money would include money for a survey and for
Okay.
a wetland delineation and something else that I'm forgetting, to just kind of start looking at that idea. And there were a lot of questions at town meeting about that. And Rita Farrell answered most of those because this was her idea. She's done a lot of affordable housing work. That was her career. And she'd really love to work with Habitat for Humanity and do this. It's it's not all finalized really at this point, but there is some money now set aside to do some basic investigation of that piece of land to see if it could be used for affordable housing.
Right. And does who moves that forward, that part of it? Does the concert, I mean, is it a joint effort by all the different boards, or or how does that work?
Yeah, the CPA application was under both open space and affordable housing.
Okay.
So, I think affordable housing in Shutesbury is really just the select board. We don't have unless I don't know about a different board or committee or anything that works on that kind of stuff. So it would be us working with them
Okay.
with the budget. We need this much of the grant money to buy the property. Now there's this much left that we had set aside, and yeah, we would work with the select board to like hire a surveyor, get the delineation done.
Okay.
I think a perk test, that was the other thing that needs to be done there
Mhm.
before it can be determined whether it can be developed or not.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how that would go.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Penny, you have your hand up?
General question, you mentioned that this is will be part of the Southbrook Conservation Area. I know the commission has another CPA grant to improve the trails on that parcel. I'm wondering if it's too late to sort of tag team and include trail work on this new piece, or is the timing not going to work for something like that?
Yeah, we're pretty far along with trying to contract someone to
Oh, good.
do
Okay.
the work that was sort of set out before. So there's a RFP that has the amount of work on those on the trails. So we can't expand it at this point.
Maybe,
I thought that
maybe
might
just
be the case.
a thought on that though, Penny. The trails do go through this area, as you probably know. And so I do think there's probably room, like, what the contractor is doing is a lot of the rehab work and wetland crossings and things that aren't on this property. So when it comes time to blaze it, if the if the parcel, if that transfer has gone through, I do think there would probably be room to, it's going to be incorporated into the overall management of it. So I do think the timing of that could work out well. But there aren't a lot of, I wouldn't have thought there would be a lot of trail improvement there. Anyway, so maybe the blazing and the maps and all that might coincide with when this might happen. I guess we'll have to see.
Well, it's very exciting. Thanks for all your work on that, all of you.
Yeah.
Mateo, you have your hand up?
I was just wondering, there's somebody with the name iPhone in the meeting, and I was wondering if they might change their name to identify who they are, and if Jen could also add a last name to identify themselves as well.
Tap to unmute. Am I unmuted? Muted?
Yep.
Hello? Okay, I'm sorry. I can't get my video up here and I'm trying to log on. I'm out of state. This is Rhea or Alexandria Windcaller chiming in here. So I'm a Shutesbury resident and I'm just trying to log on. I've been getting popped off, but I'm here. That's me.
Thank you. And whoever's logged on as Jen, if you could add a last name, that would be helpful. All right, well, moving on. Next on their agenda is review and vote on the minutes of April 23rd. Does anybody have any comments or changes to those minutes? Nope. Okay, then I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of April 23rd.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call. Douglas,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
Tommy McDuffie,
Aye.
and Khan,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. All right. Next, we have site visits. Mayor, is there any?
We did a bunch of site visits. We did out on Lake Drive, I think. And then we did we did the library and then we did South Laurel. The one on Lake Drive, the Thompsons, I don't think that I wasn't clear that they had an application in yet, so I didn't write that up because I wasn't sure when we were going to discuss that. The library, you said that we were going to we were going to discuss it and go back to the original drawings as to what that catch basin should be in terms of the depth and before we move forward on that. And then the one for South Laurel, I didn't print the picture. I didn't submit that. But I did share some of the pictures with Bob, who was not present, I guess. So
Yeah, the Lake Drive one was just really an inquiry into, so, but that was a good visit. They were wondering about taking down trees and doing work on a retaining wall, but it wasn't an application, but we walked around. And I think Bob, Mayor, Scott, were you there for that one? I can't remember. You were there too? Yep. Yeah. And then the South Laurel one, we can talk about more when the application gets discussed tonight.
Right.
Sounds good. And I know the town administrator's been trying to set up a site visit to 230 Leverett Road. And I'm not sure if that's been set up or not. She wanted to wait till after town meeting. So I guess we just wait to see if that goes forward or not. I don't know. All right. Next is land management. And Scott, maybe you can update everybody on where we're at with the trail grant.
Yeah. I think at the last meeting we talked about the fact that we had bid the project and we're in the process of awarding that bid, and there were problems with the bid in terms of getting the bond and executing the bid successfully. And then we received a notice from the Attorney General's office that the process had been challenged and there were problems with that. And as a result, we needed to rebid the project. And so Mateo's been doing yeoman's work, and Beth and I had weighed in on that with town council to prepare the additional bid package, and I think we're close to reletting that. So, in fact, I think Mateo could probably give an update, but I think we're hoping to have that out here on Monday. So hopefully the second time I go around, the second time to charm, I guess we'll see. But yeah, nothing's ever easy, but hopefully we can get a bid. It's still pretty early in the season. Beth and I went out and did some of the wetland delineation um, after one of the site visits there at some of the trickier parts of that trail where it comes out um, from Town Beach and kind of moves its way along the lake. And that's one area where we thought it would ask the contractor to look at rerouting. And so we did do wetland delineations there. And so hopefully we'll be in good shape once this gets rebid, and hopefully we get something awarded and we can move forward yet this season. So fingers crossed.
Fingers
Yes.
crossed.
Anything else to add, Beth?
No, that was a good summary. Yeah, we started moving ahead with a contractor and had to put brakes on it because the state found issue with the RFP, and that was too bad for that contractor, I feel like. But yeah, this has been a huge effort, really, more than you think you would need to put in to find a contractor to do the trail work. But we're getting there.
I don't think I had anything else. Are we going to talk? I saw on the agenda was talking about some of the land use regs later in on the agenda. Are we going to do that, or are we waiting until the next meeting?
If you want to sort of present anything about them, I guess would be my thought. I don't think I haven't had a chance to really go through them thoroughly. But sure, we can talk a little bit about it. Sure. And
Okay.
you
Do you
know,
want that later on the agenda, Madam
it-
Chair?
it's number 7, right? Discussion
Yeah.
of draft regulations for Shutesbury Conservation Area. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we
Then
should
that's
talk
all
about them.
that's all I have. So in a report.
Okay. Oh yeah, you didn't want, let's not talk about that right now. We'll talk about that later, if that's what you meant. Yeah.
That's what I was asking. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds good. All right, it is 7:16, so we can go to our 5th item on the agenda, which is public hearing for notice of intent for reconstruction of a single-family home and septic system with associated site improvements, portions of which are located within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at 36 South Laurel Drive, parcels A41 and A50, DEP number 2860311. And I know there's a few people here ready to present this project, so feel free to go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Thank you, Beth. Good evening, everyone. Rebecca Lee with R. Levesque Associates, located at 40 School Street in Westfield, Massachusetts. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. I also have representatives from the the developer here with me, the Gribco family. They're on as well. So if you had any questions for them at the end of the presentation, feel free. And please interject if you'd like to, Linda. I'm going to share my screen. So let's see here.
You turn up your volume a little bit.
Sure. Let's see. Is that any better?
I think you actually have to turn it up, Merit for because
I
it's
have it
playing
up
on
as
your
loud as it
computer.
could go.
All right, I could
Oh.
talk. I could talk louder. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay.
Good.
All right, let me share my screen. It says sharing is not turned on. I'm gonna send a
That's the
request.
request. Okay, you're all set.
Okay, perfect. Let me share the right screen here. All right, please let me know when you can see the plan.
We can see it.
Okay, perfect. All right, so you're looking at the proposed house off of the South Laurel Drive at 36 South Laurel Drive. The proposed improvements include demolishing the existing house that has been, not or has been vacant for quite a bit, and replacing it with a 1,064 square foot single family residence. So as you can see, the existing house is kind of in this half-toned shape right here, and portion of it is within the 50-foot buffer here. And it also has an issue with a setback based on the zoning bylaws. So with the new proposed house, we're going to reorient it and make it a compliant structure with the bylaws. And the hatched area that you see with the dashed, that's a deck. That represents a porch off of the second story. So this doesn't represent, the foundation, just to kind of add that tidbit in there. Accompanying the house, there's going to be a new paved driveway, a new retaining wall alongside the back here, a new well, which is located in this northeastern corner where my cursor is, and a new septic system, which is in this general area here. So we received approval from the Board of Health last week for the septic system design. So we're here tonight to request for approval of the notice of intent to perform the work as shown, which, as I mentioned, would include the construction of the house, grading associated with that, and the septic system and the driveway. I believe there was a site visit, as mentioned. Ryan Nelson from our office attended. I don't believe there were any major concerns that were brought to his attention. I do also know that Mass DEP reviewed and did not have comments. So at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to the commission, and if you have any comments or questions, I'd be more than happy to try to address those.
I'll start. I think at the site visit, we did actually talk about how many trees were going to be taken down. And if, how many, and basically replanting of those same trees. So that was one thing that came up. And I don't think we got an answer about that, but I actually could be wrong if you guys had sent something over. And then for me, just looking at it, I guess I understand that the septic has to be as far away from the well as possible. But if there was any potential way to move some of the septic, oh, where'd it go?
Just jumped.
Oh, there we go. Move the septic to the north, away from, the wetland, and a little bit more out of the 50. And then also all the grading that's happening in the 50. I don't know. I feel like if is that all really necessary to get the house where it's at? It is the house to get the house in there. Are you doing a lot of excavating down because it's sort of a hillside? And if I know you have the retaining wall there to kind of hold back the hillside, is how much soil's coming out, I guess, to put the house in there? Those are some of my questions. And then my last one is does the driveway have to be paved? Could you use gravel or forest pavement or something like that?
Yeah, so great points. And we do have, so I'll start with the plantings. So we do have some proposed new plantings being proposed kind of along the southern and northern side. And the disturbance to the tree line is kept at a minimum just to be able to get the grading to work out. Um, as far as how many trees are going to be cut down and replacing kind of in kind, I think we're proposing to add trees where possible. I just don't think, with the development, we can't replant the same number of trees on the site. I think, if you had another area in mind of, plantings off site, that might work. But it's just, to get the house in, the retaining wall in, the grading, the septic system, we're kind of showing the number of plantings that would accommodate that development. I'm not sure if Ryan, I don't know what your conversation was with Ryan. Were you looking for something other than what we're showing as far as plantings go?
I think one thing was just to actually just know the number actually of trees, the
Oh,
number
okay.
and size, because what trees are you taking down that are 24-inch diameter versus what trees are you taking down that are only 8-inch diameter? I
So
thought
you
he
want to
might have
know like
said
the
he was gonna,
caliber?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I thought maybe he was gonna flag them or something. And whoever else was on the site visit, do you guys remember
Yeah,
if he said he would actually put
I,
flagging on them so we could
I,
see them?
yeah, I thought there was an estimate of like 8 trees or something, but he was going to flag them right after the visit. I thought.
Okay. And I can follow up with him. He might have done that. I haven't been to the site myself. I don't know. Like I said, I can follow up with him and just check on that. Um,
Okay.
and then as far as the location of the septic system, so we're kind of, battling a couple different constraints due to the as-built conditions. One is the setbacks from the property line. So we don't go closer than 10 feet from the property line. That's kind of just a buffer. And then we also are trying to maintain, an adequate setback to the well, and we're already seeking a variance for that. We meet it with the septic tank itself, but unfortunately we don't meet it with the leaching field. So we had to request for a variance. So to move it to the north, I mean, we're pretty much, almost at that setback to the property line as is. There might be a foot or two that we can, shift it, but there's still going to be a portion of that within the 50. Um, and then as far as paving the driveway goes, I think this is more out of caution due to grades. It's a pretty steep in that area, and to do gravel, wear and tear, we want to make sure we're maintaining a certain depth above the septic system so that we're not adversely impacting anything. And also, with winters and plowing and over time the gravel kind of gets rutted, and we would want to make sure that we maintain that required separation. I don't know if there's another, like, I'm just thinking about like a geo grid, but that's also gonna implement some concerns as far as the driveway goes. Um, yeah, I think paving is the safest bet just because we have to go over that septic system, and the grades are so steep in that area. And then I think your last one was regarding the grading. Anything we really do is going to require some level of regrading. We are installing that retaining wall to try to, hold back some of it. And then we have some grading along the southern side there. As far as reducing the amount of grading, I mean, we've located the septic system so that we can reduce grading. If we located it to the northern side of the house, it would have been a significantly more, I'm not sure. I mean, just based on, you can see it's a 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 2-to-1 in some areas slope that's existing. So, we kind of tried to minimize grading to the extent practicable, to get the house in. We can implement, maybe a double erosion control like measure along the southern side there so that we can, we have the silt fence, but we can add some maybe like a double barrier, like a hay or a erosion control log with the silt fence. We can try to do some additional erosion control measures if that's kind of a concern, but this is kind of where we ended up at.
Just speaking of the erosion control, is in the slope towards South Laurel Drive. I know it's hard to put erosion control across, a driveway when you're going to be coming in and out of it. But
Yeah.
I feel like the way it's set up, if
Mhm.
you've got a lot of exposed soil and have rainstorm, a lot of sediment might end up going down to South Laurel Drive.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a definite concern and a good comment. We can kind of maybe create like more of a construction entrance and wrap the silt fence around so that you kind of have like a more narrower opening to, where the construction entrance is, like maybe a, 15-foot wide opening or something so that you're catching most of that sediment that's coming down the hill there, if that.
Yeah, you could do some kind of a little trench kind of thing also with where the driveway is. But yeah, I would definitely wrap the erosion control as tight as you can.
Yeah.
And think about something you can put there that's like a temporary, and you leave the site for the weekend kind of a thing.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah, we can
Yeah.
we can definitely put something like means and methods, like, if during the weekend, if they're not going to be working on site, they can kind of install like a temporary berm, or, put in a silt fence when they're not, on the site for a couple of days or something like that. We can add that to our plan. Yep.
All right. I see one spot where a tree could go, right where it says lot A41, kind of just east of the septic
Down here, like
tank.
along the hillside. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe like a medium to smaller tree. We just don't want to get too close to that septic tank there.
Hmm. And it does look like there's room on the north, like north of, again, the leach field and a little up the hill towards, I don't know, there's some space for some more
We meet over
trees.
here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we can fill it in maybe with some like smaller species of trees. Like, is there anything that you had in mind as far as species goes?
I guess it would, what's on the site right now. I mean, that's upland area, so
Um,
I like to always replace with what is. And again, that comes down to like what you guys are, if we could get a list of the trees that are being taken down, that would be helpful.
Okay. All right. I'll follow up with Ryan and see, what he's got with respect to that, see if he flagged it up like you guys had discussed. Again, I apologize. I'm filling in for him
Okay.
tonight and I don't know if he did that or not.
That's fine. Yeah, no worries, no problem.
All right. Sounds good. I will jot that down.
Do other folks have questions?
I did. In terms of the roads, is it possible to, and I'm not sure how to phrase this, but is it possible to have the road condition noted before projects start and then make sure that it's in that same condition once the project is finished? Because um, the heavy truck traffic that comes down these roads for construction, it really does change the shape of the road, and then it would be obviously you'll have the silt fences in, but um you could be leaving, ditches and things like that that then drain into the lake again. And um having looked at the lake on that side and other areas, since the lake is the is down, the water levels have been down. It is amazing how much is, and Bob can attest to this too, but how much goes into the lake. And that is an area where there hasn't been construction, to my knowledge, in many years. I think the Gribcos did do some work on their home. But before that, I don't think that there's been really any kind of truck traffic to this level as would be coming down. So I don't know how to phrase that, but it would be something that I think would be important to look at to document again what the road looks like before it starts and make sure it's returned to that at the end so that there isn't additional silt that goes into the lake.
I think that's good. I think we can make that a condition in the order of conditions that photographs, really, we can have the contractor take photos before and after and have it be one of the requirements that the road is the way it was prior to.
And then I guess the other question I had too was that with this retaining wall, would that funnel or, push additional waters into that that little pond that's, I don't know if I would call it a pond, but that wetlands area that has water in it, I guess, that is to the south of the property, that it buffers that property. I don't even know who owns that property, but it's so close.
You're saying by the construction of this retaining wall, you think there would be excess and runoff going towards
Would that change the runoff? Yeah, that's my question. I don't necessarily know that, but I guess I would just like to know if that's something you guys have thought about.
I'd like to interject, Alexandria Windcolor. I own that property, but I'll wait for my turn to speak on that.
Oh, okay, Rhea. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have some we have perk tests. I think we have some soil logs, so we can certainly check to see, what groundwater looks like, and I'm sure that was a thought process that went into the design. I didn't personally do the design, so I didn't have that thought just because I didn't do it. But I'm sure that it was thought about, and I can certainly get back to you on that.
Great. Mayor, if you're done, Bob's got his hand
Done.
up.
I'm
Okay,
done.
Bob.
Sure. Rebecca, could you use your cursor to show how you foresee water flowing off of the lot?
Yeah, sure. So I guess starting from the southern side of the building, it's kind of like swaled to run down the driveway. And then from the northern side, it's kind of following this trajectory here, and then again, kind of like swaling towards the South Laurel Drive.
So, if it functions the way it's designed, you would have open water draining directly to Laurel Drive.
Well, it would be over, grass areas, or in the case of the driveway, down the driveway.
And where does water currently go off of this lot?
Same location. We're not changing. If you can see, it's kind of hard, the existing topography in the back here, which is represented by these dashed lines, and it all flows towards South Laurel Drive.
All
It
right.
doesn't
Yeah.
start turning towards the wetlands until you get to this point here, and then it starts kind of going towards the wetlands.
Yeah, there's been increasing, as Mayor alluded to, the increasing interest in preventing erosion of roadways into the pond and so on. Do you foresee the so you've increased the size of the house. There's a paved driveway as opposed to a gravel driveway now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Um,
Actually, I don't know if there was a driveway. Maybe Linda can chime in. Um, I asked Ryan, and it sounded like there wasn't much of a driveway there to begin with.
Hey guys, Chad here. Can I chime in real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's a little bit of a driveway there. Not much, kind of a gravelly, sandy, dirty driveway. That, it is all kind of most of the water, like you said, ends up in the street. I guess the only other thing I had to point out is that our house is directly across the street. We use that driveway, so keeping the road, the street in good condition is definitely of key importance to us living directly across from that driveway and using that road. We'd want to ensure that the street would be in good shape always.
Thank you.
Question for the applicant's engineer. Uh, would the increase in pervious surface, the enlarged house and the paved driveway, would that increase water loading onto Laurel?
I mean, what's there? So you're turning impervious or pervious area to impervious, and
Right.
it's more than what's there currently. So yes, there will be a slight increase. However, it's not going to be anything, drastic. There's the existing house that's there now. We're going to be putting a new one, demolishing the existing, and then the driveway will, add a little bit, but um, it won't be of magnitude of like, a monsoon or something coming down the hill. But there will be an increase, yes.
I have two more questions, and thank you for your patience. The um, the septic system is less than 35 feet away from the wetland.
Is it dimensioned here? It says 33.7.
And have you been through you've been through the Board of Health, correct?
Yes, we got approval last week.
Okay. Um, okay, well that's I'm glad they approved that. The is the lot uh a compliant lot? Is it does it is it gosh, what's it called? Um Lake Whale is filled with lots that are small for the town's zoning
Non-conforming.
Oh,
conforming, yeah.
non-conforming.
Pre-existing non-conforming. Yeah, it was pre-existing non-conforming just due to setbacks with where the existing building is, but the new building will be in conformance.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it would be non-conforming this project, correct? And do you have have you been to the ZBA regarding it?
No, so we have spoken with the various town departments to discuss this matter, and currently the existing house is pre-existing non-conforming. However, the new house will be in conformance, so there's no need to request for a variance.
And and the lot itself is conforming with
Yes,
this proposed house?
yes.
Okay, all right. Um we sh- and you're comfortable that that's the case, that this project is fully conforming?
Yes, we've submitted the plans and we've submitted all the specs to let me see, I actually have the email here. The zoning enforcement coordinator, Paul Payer. So we've been working directly, with him and ensuring that we're going through the proper channels to, if based on variances and setbacks, but the way that it's laid out here is in conformance, and he has sent an email stating that we do not need to request for any variances.
Okay, yeah. Should it be, so that sounds fine. Should it be a non-conforming lot, and should it require ZBA action, this commission can't issue a permit, an NOI, sorry, order of conditions until that has been done. So what
Understood.
you're saying is it will be conforming and it doesn't require that permit.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I guess uh Madam Chair, I guess I the runoff to roadways is such a hot button. That would be the only thing that really gives me pause on this, is that the it appears that the impervious surface is more than doubled related to this new project, the house and the extensive driveway, that I am worried about water loading up on South Laurel. So that's really my only comment, and I appreciate your replies, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Um, in regard to that, so the western property boundary is pretty far from Laurel Drive. So that whole bottom section of the driveway is that on town property? Is that
Yes,
within the,
that's within the right of way. Yep.
okay, and do you need to get town permission to install like a paved driveway on the right of way? Or no?
Um, I mean, with any other, I guess, single
Yeah, that
family
just seems like a
home.
lot.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now the driveway width is 20 feet. So maybe we could narrow it where it, meets up with South Laurel Drive for a stretch, kind of like bottleneck it to reduce the amount of pavement that's being proposed. Um, it's just, we also have to make sure that the feasibility of maneuvering to the site and, getting cars in there, also works out. So, we can certainly look into that, to maybe see if we can, kind of meet in the middle and reduce some of the proposed
Okay, so
pervious.
wait, did you say make the bottom of it? How did you describe that?
Well, I'm just saying, like, because right now the width of the proposed
Oh,
paved driveway is 20 feet. So maybe we can kind of, reduce it down where the right of way is, and then kind of come out. So we're reducing it a little bit. Uh, just
what
trying
about
to.
making the part of the driveway that's not over the septic gravel? Or that way, if all this water is coming off the site and heading down that way, gravel at the bottom near Laurel Drive would allow for infiltration. And
Right.
also the area there that doesn't have driveway on it, that is in town in the right of way, also would be a nice spot for some trees or replanting.
Mhm.
That's to the north and south of the driveway.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept, and we can certainly look into that. That might be a good kind of meet in the middle thing where we can, maybe slow some of that runoff down that's coming down the slope there, and kind of transition from like a gravel to pavement within the right of way, not necessarily at the street.
Yeah, seems possibly doable.
I had a
Mayor
question.
has her hand up. Yes,
Yeah, I
Mayor?
had a question, and maybe the Gripcos can answer this because South Laurel is a little bit different because it's privately owned. It's not technically part of the
Right.
Lake Wyola Association. And I think Linda knows the woman who owns it from New Jersey, or and that and but the other thing that I had two other questions, or just points too, is that I know that a lot of these roads, having the trees have not been, the road width has not been maintained. And that's also important to make sure that um that uh um that it is maintained, because over the years there's so many trees that um the roads are not the width that they're supposed to be, based on, and there's maps out there that show the what the original roads are supposed to be in terms of the width, but at the lake. But um that was one point. But the other question I had is that when the erosion report was submitted, I can't remember whether South Laurel was part of that. And I guess that's my question. Is that something that Rebecca and the associates could look at in terms of whether that is part of any kind of plans? Um,
Yeah, we can certainly reach out to the town and see what is there as far as I think you mentioned there was some erosion reports that were done for the surrounding roads.
Yeah, there's a Lake Wyola sort of like erosion task force that has done some work putting documents together with areas where there's erosion. Um, yep. Bob is on that committee, right, Bob?
Yes, I am, and there is interest in um keeping water off of the roadways if possible.
I think the Gribcos have their hands up. Yes.
Couple super quick points I guess I'll add. First of all, within reason, we have every interest in maintaining the forest feel of the lot. You know, we don't plan on clear cutting it. We're open to doing any plantings as needed. We're also super open to trying to help maintain the road width as requested. Glad to do that. And we help maintain that road. You know, we've spread gravel up there. We've helped grade it. So we have every interest in, trying to reduce any erosion and because ultimately it's a private road, it's up to us to maintain. So we want to do what's right. I just had a simple question. I don't know if it might make sense to pitch or ever so slightly grade the driveway to the south. That's kind of where a lot of the runoff ends up anyways. And that might help encourage a little less towards the road and a little bit more to the south. I don't know if that might make sense.
Mm. Yeah, then it's heading more into the wetlands.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that idea of kind of having within the right of way, having like a gravel transition from the paved driveway to, South Laurel Drive, I think, will definitely help kind of slow some of that runoff down, acting kind of like a level spreader almost. Um, so I think that would, that's a good solution that we should kind of, look into and, um, submit, a detail kind of showing you what our plan is for that.
All right. I think the Gribcos have a comment. Yes.
Just one other thing, looking at this diagram, for those who haven't walked the property, this property has been neglected for quite a few years, and we have no interest in clear cutting, as Chad said. Where it looks like we have to replant trees, there are a lot of trees still in there that are never going to be touched. We're just going to leave that alone. The only area that we would want, we're right across the street, so we can use the property across the street as our playground. We don't need it here. The only reason there's a retaining wall behind to the north and the east of the property is so that we would have a way to get around the building rather than having to drive on a slant all the time. And if we wanted to put a grill on the back there, but we're not really opening up a big area there. Where it shows that there are trees replanted, there are a lot of trees already in there that are never going to be touched. The whole property is, and you can ask Rhea, she owns the property around it. It's basically a forest. So the house is in the middle of a forest, and the number of trees will take down. A few need to be taken down because they're already encroaching power lines and things like that. And some of them are already dead. Especially down near the road itself, there are a lot of saplings that have grown up there because, as Chad was saying, the driveway really has only been partially maintained. So I think that the concern for runoff might be more minimal than we expect. Yes, we really weren't in favor of a paved driveway, but because of the septic system and its location, we have to pave over that. But anywhere else, we can put, whether we put gravel on the sides of the driveway or put more plantings on the sides of the driveway. We're
Buffer, like they said at the bottom.
yeah, we're game
that
for
makes sense.
we're game for all of that.
Yeah,
Great.
thanks for adding that, Linda. And I think
Right.
you know, once those trees that do need to be demolished are flagged and it's a little bit more visible as to, you know, how many are going to be demolished. If we, you know, if we can't fit them on the property, but it does look like we'll be able to get, you know, quite a few. I think you mentioned there might have been 8 or so that might need to be cut down. So right now we have 5. We kind of discussed maybe 2 other areas for some, and then like they said, if you're okay with planting, if 1 or 2 don't fit, planting them on their other property on the other side there, you know, I think there's definitely a viable solution with that.
Great. That all sounds good. Any other commissioners have any comments? All right, then are there any comments from the public? I can't really.
I'd like to speak, Rhea, but I can't raise my hand. So whenever it's my turn, please let me know.
Why don't you go ahead? Let's see if I
Okay.
see anybody else.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Should I begin now?
Yep. Yep. Go right ahead.
Okay, great. So my full name's Alexandria. I own, as Linda mentioned, the property around that. And both my property and the Gripco's lot, it functions as a transition point between the upland drainage and that wetland system below, which is the tail end of Ames Brook. So it crosses from Ames Pond, goes down through that, and that's where it fans out before it goes into the lake. So I'm not opposed to the existing home being reconstructed on the lot. My concern is the proposed relocation and expansion uphill that really appears to increase disturbance in the area where that drainage enters the site. And it's not fully clear to me, even in this conversation here, on how that runoff or upland drainage is being managed long term. I see that it's being addressed during construction, but I expect that everyone involved will want to see a clear demonstration that the project won't concentrate or accelerate runoff. Currently, there are no paved driveways in most of Wendell Road and certainly South Laurel. In fact, the main road there is dirt too. And that runoff on the tar, my expectation is that that is going to be going into that Ames Brook wetland area there and onto the road. So I'm not saying that the project can't work, but I do think that the commission needs a clear understanding of how water is moving through the site before making a decision. And I'm wondering whether maintaining the existing building location was considered as a lower impact alternative.
Oh, I think you're muted, Rebecca. We can't hear you. I can.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry about that. Through the chair, if I may just add a couple of points. Okay. So again, depending on where groundwater is, and I don't have the logs with handy right now, but I can certainly take a look. Usually you have, foundation drains associated with any sort of structure. So the retaining wall, it's not going to be a solid barrier preventing water from going to where it needs to go. There's going to be an outlet somewhere. Um, and it's going to go in the same direction as I kind of showed illustrated here as it was going before. Yes, there will be some increase due to the increase in impervious area. However, we just talked about some ways to kind of, slow that down. I think the Gribcos have, mentioned that they're equally as, diligent and concerned about the conditions of the existing drive as the neighbors are. They live there too already. So if there were any issues, it's kind of sounds like they would fix them and take care of them. I think by transitioning from that paved to gravel, I think that will help out a lot as far as the velocity of the runoff. Unfortunately, the septic system is where it is because of the lot constraints. If there was a better spot for it, we would have put it there, but everything else is uphill. We're kind of fighting grades here. And unfortunately, due to the location where it's at, as I mentioned before, it doesn't make sense to put a gravel driveway over a septic system. Just due to the, rutting, the grades in that area, the wear and tear. We really need some hard packed surface over the septic system. So I don't know how the other lots are arranged. I don't know if drives go over septic systems or whatnot, but this is kind of a unique situation. So I think we're just trying to do the best with what we have. I think they're, share the same concerns, and if there are any sort of issues after the fact or during construction, it sounds like the Gribcos would be more than willing to work with the neighbors and ensuring that South Laurel Drive is remains in the condition that it's in today, or if not better.
I'm wondering if it was considered the existing building location, which would be a much lower impact for that entire area there. That is a steep slope and right on the edge of the wetlands. I understand there was a site visit with the Conservation Commission, so I'm sure everyone on board was able to see just how close to the wetland that is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the existing house is non-conforming, so the relocation of the proposed house kind of just rotates it and brings it into conformance. We also had to relocate it to meet the proper setbacks to the proposed septic system. So as you can see, right now where the septic system is being proposed overlaps the existing house. So it was, we did look at it, and I don't know, Linda, or, if any of the other Gribcos want to chime in on, kind of the history and the, different alternatives that were discussed, but this is kind of, the best case scenario for any sort of, renovations and replacement of existing features such as the septic system, the well, the house, and given the site constraints.
I just have one more question for you, Rebecca. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure.
The size of the septic, is that because the house is being built and it's so much larger than the pre-existing home that is there?
The septic system is based on the current Massachusetts regulations and the number of bedrooms. So there's only I think the floor plans show one bedroom. Is that right, Linda? or?
No, that was just a temporary floor
Oh, okay.
plan.
Okay.
And they, we'd like at least two, but
Two.
basically we were told we had to build it for three because that's what they require in Massachusetts. So we went with that.
The 3-bedroom minimum. Yep. Okay. So yeah, so the septic system is based on the minimum Massachusetts standards, and obviously the house that was there before did not meet those standards.
All right. Any other comments from the public? Noreen, you have your hand up?
Yes, hi. My name is Noreen Pease. I live at the other end of South Laurel Drive, number 19. And I haven't had a chance to talk to the Grebcos yet. And I'm happy to be here to talk to the Concom tonight. I'm concerned a little bit about all the big equipment that's going to be coming down South Laurel Drive, which I think you all know is a very steep hill. We have 3 berms, I think, on the hill. And I'm just worried about the integrity of that section of the road and the runoff that already comes down that hill through the Cocuts property, which is paved, and into the lake. So I'm wondering if there are any sorts of things we can think about to help preserve the integrity of the rest of that hillside and that road coming down to the flatter part of South Laurel Drive, and try and prevent any additional runoff as a result of big trucks and equipment coming down when this project is implemented.
Yeah, I guess I can chime in through the chair.
Yeah.
So I think that, the condition that was mentioned earlier about maybe documenting the, as is condition of South Laurel Drive, and ensuring that, it stays as is, might satisfy that. But I think the Gribcos are kind of welcome to any suggestions. I think, like I said, it sounds like they're as equally, concerned and, have interest in maintaining the road as much as, all the other neighbors do.
May I just say one more historical piece here, and then I'll step away. Concom might not know, but North Laurel Drive had a very serious flooding situation that came down that hill and flooded where Tom and Berta is now on the lake. In fact, that little red cabin that was there that they rebuilt was flooded due to the water. So this is part of my concern for the erosion piece, is that we say, okay, monsoon might not happen, but we've already seen the result of that. And that was, yes, Tom and Berta, who you may know, right down there on the lake. Thank you for your time.
All right. Jen McKalen has her hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we are neighbors with Maureen at 19 South Laurel. We're at 21 South Laurel Drive. And I am excited to welcome, a revamp to bring a building into correlation with what needs to be done and to bring it alive again at that end of South Laurel Drive. As you may or may not know, we are at the bottom of the hill at South Laurel Drive as you come down. So we have the paved driveway that goes down into our driveway. So we take the brunt of the water that comes down the hill there, along with Noreen over on 19. So I certainly welcome the new construction, and that's not a problem. And the Gripcos are amazing, so I know that they'll work with us just to ensure that we maintain that integrity of the street road there, to avoid any further water issues for us in our specific area. With the things that we fight. So that is all I have, and that's the only concern, is that we just make sure we work, together as a neighborhood to maintain the water coming down as the road changes with the heavy equipment, which is expected. As long as we just keep on top of that, that's all I would appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. The Gribcos?
I just want to chime in. We care about that road. We drive that road, and we care about our neighbors, Carol and Noreen, and Jen, and you guys, and we're glad to maintain those swales, whatever we need to do. If they need a little bit of love, at the end of all this, then of course we'll touch them up. Also, we're not planning on bringing a ton of fill in or a ton of fill out. I don't expect a tremendous amount of heavy truck traffic. Of course, sure, we're going to have, some excavators for the septic work and pickup trucks for the carpenters and whatever, but we're not bringing triaxles of tons of material in and out. So I would hope that it would have a minimal impact, but whatever there is, us, we drive that road, we'll make sure it's all set.
Absolutely. And my only concern was that during the construction that we kind of try to keep pace, because as we've seen the rain come and go and the winter come and go, I don't know what the rain is proposed for the summer yet, but we just want to, if it starts to get out of line during construction, to visit it at that point, which I am sure you will do. And I just wanted to express that on this meeting. I'm, excited to see Breath of Life brought into that specific area. And we welcome that. It just want to bring our concern up since we take the brunt of the bottom. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Any more? Oh, Tom Seifert?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for having this hearing. I have kind of a list of comments and questions, so if it's okay, I might just read them. And if somebody who knows an answer or response might want to take a note, please. I think that might be quicker because I want to make it quick if possible. And I do have a few repeats of things, but some are new. I was wondering if we're allowed to ask the applicant or know how the house will be used, if it will be a rental or a short-term rental, or any sort of idea of the number of vehicles or people associated with it. Whether there'll be a garage. I thought I saw a garage in the narrative, and that just brings up the question as well of I didn't see square footage of the house or square footage of the driveway on the plans or the narrative, and that would have been really helpful as a member of the public for the hearing. So I just wanted to add that. I'm kind of learning things tonight that I wished were in the application materials, but if I missed them, please forgive me. The retaining wall does cause me some concern about water channeling, both towards the south into the wetlands and also towards the west onto a small portion of land that I own, that it looks like the retaining wall might channel water towards. And I just wanted to know if that, and also considering the paved driveway, might lead to a question of, could there be some sort of what they call best management practices to put maybe along the sides or corners of places to help capture maybe water gardens or depressions or something to help with any of the water that might be coming away from the driveway or the retaining wall. The road condition, I just want to underscore that I also do believe that that really needs to be a condition, that South Laurel stays at least as good as it is now, from top to bottom, please, if that could be a condition. I do want to offer the question, I think it was kind of mentioned before, was it a reasonable option to consider leaving the house where it is, as opposed to moving it, adding the impervious driveway and the larger footprint, the removal of trees and the grading? Is that better than leaving it where it is now and dealing with things that would have had to be dealt with as such? It would be great to have that list of trees. That was another thing that I wished I could have found in the application materials that I didn't. And I didn't know that was a deck on the house. And I'm sorry if I missed that in the application materials, but I didn't find it labeled as such. And it was just another example of details I wished we could have had before the hearing. I would like to know what the variance for the well is, and eventually if that's been solved yet. And if possible, if it's allowed, to have a copy of that email with Paul from FERCog. Forget his last name already, but he's kind of new there. Paul Pear, about the conformance issue, and kind of a recommendation going back to the stormwater concerns. If I'm not mistaken, GZA is in the process now of doing a hydraulics and hydrology study for the area that would include like the whole Lake Wyola watershed. And the Laurel drives are in the final report and in the study realm. So I don't know if it's a conditionable thing, but maybe somehow to just make sure that there's communication with that H&H study, since this seems to be a critical area for that, especially where it kind of meets the source of the lake there at the Ames Brook area. Thank you. And that's everything I've written down here. I really appreciate that. Oh, and please, sorry, the last thing, just good notice to neighbors, please, about when people will be coming on their land or not during the process would be appreciated. Thank you very much.
Right. Rebecca, did you want to reply to some of those? Some of them I think were repeats of things we talked about, but there were some new things in there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the use, it's a single family home. I mean, I don't know if the Gribcos want to add any more to that, but that's what it's planned on being.
No, we don't need to add any more to that. It's planned to be a single family home. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. We can certainly so the square footage of the house is currently 1,064 square feet. So, it's a pretty modest size for a single family home. The list of trees, we talked about channeling from the retaining wall. Again, we're swaling the water kind of on either side of the properties to direct it towards that South Laurel Drive. We can add, a detail about, how the footing drain is going to work if that helps. But I think everything else was kind of discussed already.
All right. Any more comments?
Is there a garage in the plan?
I think there is a plan for a garage. Yep.
Was that on the diagram or?
I mean, it's part of the footprint of the house.
Okay. Thank you. That helps.
All right. Does that answer your questions, Tom?
Thank you. And yes, some of them were just repeats and comments as well. Thank you.
Okay. All right. I see no more hands up.
Sorry, there is that one about whether that email from Paul Pear is available, or is that something I should just make it my own request for?
I'll leave that up to the Gribcos. I mean, you can certainly reach out to him yourself, but if they would like me to share correspondence regarding the project, I'll leave that up to them.
Okay, thank you. And yeah, Madam Chair, I guess I didn't underscore a desire for the Concom to consider continuing the hearing, not closing it tonight, if possible. I feel as though I might have more questions too as I learn more. Thank you.
Yeah, I think there's some definitely changes that are going to be made to the plan and based on this discussion. So we will be continuing to our next meeting.
Yeah, we'll be
but I guess I just kind of wanted to. Oh, sorry. What did you say, Rebecca?
No, I just said we'll be prepared to address all the comments that we had here tonight and revise the plans as we discussed, so that next meeting will be good to have further discussion if needed.
Okay. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to summarize too what I guess we're looking for, so you're clear with that.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're interested in some revision potentially to the driveway, having it be gravel, sort of pervious on the bottom. We're interested definitely in the trees and a list of the trees. And if they are flagged, we might try to plan another site visit between now and the 28th, just for any Concom members that want to see the trees. I think what would be helpful on the plan is to actually show where drainage goes, to maybe show where, if you are putting a footing drain in, where it discharges. And then it sounded like you're talking swales coming down the sides. So even just arrows on the site plan showing like where the water, you think the water's going to go from the design. And if those swales are going to be vegetated, as Tom was mentioning, like a rain garden, even if you just call it a vegetated swale, that's good to know on the plan. What else did we want to? I'm probably missing some things. That's what came to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great.
We'll get those on the plan and be prepared for, you said that mentioned the 28th. Is that the next meeting?
That's our next meeting. Yeah. 2
Okay,
weeks
sounds
from
good.
today.
And we'll reach out to you regarding the flagging too, so that hopefully we can arrange for another site visit before then.
Sounds great. Bob has his hand up. Yep, Bob.
Yeah, I just wanted to get the commission's pulse on perhaps having a engineering peer reviewer take a look at the water that will be coming off of the site.
I feel like I'd rather see the revised plan that they're going to put together before I decide that or not. It's just a single family home, pretty straightforward in terms of drainage, I think. But I'm open to hear what other commissioners think.
Scott, Mayor, Michael, what are your thoughts?
I'd like to see the revised plans. Um, I guess I'm concerned about the overall condition of the roads in general. I think the runoff is partially being addressed by the gravel and the slope of it. But yeah, it's very, very close to that wetlands area. And it would be good to kind of get another overall look at the property with a site visit. But I think coming back with revised plans, types of trees, I think that's important.
Yeah, I guess for my part, I too am, my interest is in minimizing the impact to the wetland there. It's awfully close. We've heard many of the impacts discussed here tonight, with increasing the impervious surface area and just the overall site disturbance in the area. So maybe we'll learn more at the next meeting with the revised plan. So that seems like a good next step to me.
Yeah, I think seeing a revised plan and if possible to somehow quantify the change in permeable area on the property would be interesting to see. Because it seems like a lot, but maybe it's not that much.
One other thought would be, where's the roof runoff proposed right now? And if it's just sort of sheet flow off, gutters proposed, and where's that? And is there a potential for maybe a dry well kind of thing to at least collect that runoff so it's not adding to the problem?
Okay. Yeah, we can show
Just something to
where
think
the
about.
roof runoff discharges to, and kind of have a plan for that at the next meeting.
Great. Right. That's a lot. So good. Thank you so much. And yep, so you're happy with you accept continuing to the 28th, right? The applicant? Wonderful. All right, so I need a motion to continue the public hearing until May 28th.
moved.
Second.
All right, roll call. Khan,
Aye.
Douglas,
Aye.
Fox,
Aye.
and Tommy McDuffie,
Aye.
and Wilson. Aye. Great. So we will see you at 7:15 on, that's, didn't say that in the motion, but I think we're going with 7:15 on the 28th.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for the presentation. It was great.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks to the Gribcos. All right. Next on the agenda is a report from Penny regarding the status of revegetation on the library parcel.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Penny.
So, Mayor and Beth were out, I guess it's been a couple weeks now, and looked at the site, and I think we all agree that things are growing. And that's all good. There's a lot more work to be done, and I want to talk with you about some of that. Just so everyone knows, the library construction project finished in December, very late in the season. A lot of landscaping was done late October into November, right up until the beginning of December. I think they were still planting trees. The landscape contractor planted about half of the trees and shrubs that are going to go onto the site. Those are the ones that are on the west side of the site, which are, we decided we didn't want to mess up all the work that they had done grading everything and seeding everything. So we had them put those trees and shrubs in before that work was done. And the town retained the obligation of putting in an additional 41 trees and 71 shrubs as per the order of conditions. And those are all in front of the building, along the road, and the drive, and on the east side of the driveway. So there's still a lot of work to do. And that will proceed over the course of the spring. And I think we know we have to have those in by, let's see, the order of conditions was issued in February of 2024. So we have to have everything in by the end of this growing season. So we're very much aware of that. It's a lot of work to do still. I don't know if people have questions about that portion of things at this point. Mostly what I want to talk with you about is the meadow, but I'm happy to entertain questions about the site that was within the limit of work for the building itself. Any questions? Yes.
I asked mine when we were walking around.
Yeah. You want to share those with the commission? It might be useful.
Well, we were looking for areas of any type of erosion. We saw where all the hydro seeding had kind of grown in, but it's hydro seeding, so that whole area is still going to get reseeded if anybody has been walking around and wondering about that. Let's see, there was the area that is the outfall for one of the basins that we looked at, and looked like that needed to just be vacuumed out a little bit. There was some sediment in it. The tree plantings that are in all look good. I saw the matting is stabilizing the soil in a lot of areas where the hydro seed is kind of thin. There's still matting and erosion control. And I thought that all looked fine. Yeah.
I think you had some concerns about the stormwater basin along Leverett Road, and I have to do some more work on that.
Right, that we're not so sure. We think it might have filled in a little bit. So the size of it may have changed in terms of the volume it can hold and treat. And then also the berm that's at the end of it, that's really the overflow, looked like there was an area that had been damaged and needed to just be rebuilt up.
Mhm.
That was that. And but yeah, we've been meaning to sort of look at the set of plans and do some measurements to see if that basin still is the right sizing that it was supposed to be.
And my understanding is the commission will do that and then let us know if we need to let the landscape contractor come back and adjust things.
Yes, we'll
Okay.
take a look at that. I'll take a look at that.
Okay. And Marianne, I know you're here too. The landscape contractor is coming out sometime in May to assess things, right? Do you have a date for that yet?
I don't.
Yeah, it would be great to hear from the commission about what we should pass on to them before they come out, if that's possible.
So when they come out, what's their first thing they're going to do?
They don't know that they need to look at the stormwater basins. They're coming out specifically to, as I understand it, and Marianne, you can correct me if I'm mistaken here. One, they're assessing the viability of the woody material that they planted late last fall. They had someone here a month or so ago, but nothing had leafed out, so it wasn't really possible to tell whether things made it through the winter. I'm concerned about some of the plants. I think I said to you when we were on the site that there was some small mammal damage to some of the smaller shrubs under the snow line, and those may have to be replaced. So and they're also, all of the area that was hydro-seeded will be reseeded with I think they call it a low grow meadow mix. That is what will be the permanent vegetation in all of those areas where there's the little tiny grass coming up right now. So they still have quite a bit of work to do as well.
Yeah, okay, that's good to know. And do you think they'll seed and mulch that whole area generally? And
if I remember correctly, it was kind of a complicated scheme. I believe that all of that grass that you see growing there now was meant to be sort of like nursery grass I didn't quite understand it, honestly. I'd never heard of doing this before, but the seeding will go over that. And I think that the grass that's there now will hold the seed in place and provide a good growing site for the long-term grasses that they'll be putting in. And I'm sorry that I can't explain that.
Yeah, if that's going to work, that's
yeah. Well, they say it will. We'll see. We'll see. Is that, Marianne, is that what you understand as well? That's what I understood from talking with Greg Stimson, who's the designer of all of this.
Yes, I think that we should have a meeting with Dominic, you and I, and should have a meeting with Dominic and before the landscapers come out, and make sure that we all have the same understanding. But yes.
I think that that's a good idea. Okay, so that's where the things stand for the work within the limit of work area. If you don't have more questions about that piece of things, I'd like to talk with you more about the meadow restoration that we agreed to do in the notice of intent. And I hastily put together a draft of something. I don't know if it got out in time for all of you to have that. I just sent it at the beginning of this week.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I saw it too. Yeah, I read it. I had a question. Is it where is it? So we never approved the landscaping long-term maintenance plan. I know you guys wrote
I thought that you did approve that, but what but the piece that we never really, well, it's complicated because that plan includes both what's within what we were talking about before, the limit of work where the disturbance was done for the construction site, but it also concerns the meadow. And so I think there were some sticking points on the meadow part of it.
Yeah, that's why I'm not sure. I know we approved the invasive plan and moved ahead with that. And then I just have this memory, that's why, and I know I should look it up in the minutes.
Yeah,
That
no, I think, it was so long ago, Beth.
it was long ago.
I think you're right. I think we got partway through it and then we just sort of put it aside and so as I understand it, the pieces that were unresolved were the meadow. And
I think that was why we stopped almost. We were like trying to figure out about the mowing and we just weren't sure. And so then we just,
right.
I think
And
so.
so I did meet with a representative. I have to look up the name again. The
Franklin Hampshire Conservation District.
Right. Although I have here it's the Hampshire one, but I have to go back and look at my notes from Heidi again. Anyway, she recommended an annual mowing. And I know there was discussion about whether it's better to do it in the fall or the spring. My feeling is partly for pragmatic purposes, doing it in the fall is going to work better because we're reliant on the highway department to do this. And I think they have time to do it in late October, early November. The alternative is to do it in the spring after the soil is firm enough that you could get a piece of equipment out there. And I'm concerned that that might be after the growing season has started. And so I'd love to hear the commission's thought about that.
Yeah, I've always been told that, mowing in the fall is the best time to mow. Certainly in the spring, you've got wet soils, which is always a problem getting your equipment in there, but also, that is when the vegetation's just starting to come up. And then you get into a season where there's birds nesting and turtles and other crazy things. And then you get to October, November seems to always be the best time if it's an annual mow. Is that, Scott, what you?
Yeah,
You've done
I
more?
totally agree. I think that as I recall, the conversation was more about, I don't recall it being, should we mow in the spring or the fall? I think fall is what's preferable to any spring mowing. I think the question was, is annual mowing beneficial or necessary to achieve your objectives of what you're trying to do there at the site, or is that going to be, working counterproductive to some of the things that you're trying to accomplish there with some of the invasive management? And so I did look through the plan. I think those are my biggest questions were really about, the stated goals and objectives of what you're trying to get, in terms of, it doesn't really talk about, the reductions in invasives that you're trying to achieve, or, the success of, or it talks about increasing diversity, but, what is success going to be look like? And if you're going to be deciding on whether or not to mow or to not mow, to achieve that objective. I think those are what I was hoping to hear more from you, Penny, or Marianne, in terms of what you heard when you talked with the SWCD. I didn't see in what you sent, it had their recommendations for mowing for the establishment, but I didn't see the recommendations for the annual mowing that would continue on ad infinitum. And I think that's what I wanted to hear more about. So those are, I think, my questions in a nutshell.
Well, from what I've researched, an annual mowing is the most effective. And And from talking with the people at um, the conservation district, that's what they and their meadow specialist recommended. This is from the point of, they weren't looking at it from the point of view of managing invasive species. I think they're looking at it from the point of view of managing a mix of diverse native plants in the field. And I'm not sure how to reconcile those two things. I know where I live, we have a 2-acre field. We have bittersweet in that field. And what we decided to do this year is to mow a third of the field every 2 weeks for this growing season to see if we can manage the bittersweet. I don't think it's possible for us to accomplish something like that at the library site because we just don't have the person power to have someone to do that. So I don't know what you recommend, Scott. I mean, I'm not, I see your point. It's just, it's a conundrum.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a challenging site. I think, if I were to make any suggestions on the plan, I think it would be to allow for some room here for some adaptive management that instead of, a more prescriptive, it's going to be mowed annually, at this time. I think to have some objectives around decreasing the invasives that are there, with a kind of a goal for what you think would, I don't think you're going to eradicate any of it by any stretch of the imagination, but I think reducing it by, 80 or 90% might be a reasonable goal from where you are. I think, and for the establishment and maintenance of diversity, if you're going to state that you're going to, try to achieve a certain percentage of these new seedlings surviving and growing to the next growing season. So it may be again, 80% might be a reasonable goal there. I think when it comes to the mowing, my biggest concern there, and based on my own experience, would be it's a disturbance that it can benefit some of those species, for sure, to reduce competition. And they need sunlight, and reducing the woody vegetation that would come in. So I concur with what you heard from the SWCD in terms of how they would manage it. I think it too can create disturbance that can tilt the scales to benefit some of the invasives, and you can inadvertently drag bittersweet and other things around and create more sunlight openings for the berries to get established and to grow. And so that,
I'll interrupt you and say we have avoided any berries since
yeah, no, for sure.
since we've started managing the invasives there. We've been pretty industrious about that.
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I think continuing to do that, unfortunately, the birds don't read
right.
our management plans, and they deposit new berries, don't they, or seeds
exactly.
every year. And so that's I guess if I had any amendments suggested to the plan, I think you did a great job. I'm excited to see how this develops. I think it would just be stating a goal so you can tell if you're successful in getting there or if you're going the right way, and giving yourself a little bit of wiggle room to say that it may be mowed annually depending in the fall. I agree with the fall, but I rather than lock yourself in where you have to do that if it's not serving you correctly.
Yep, no, I'm happy to incorporate that language. And I think maybe what I'll do, Scott, since I feel like you have the most in-depth knowledge of this, is I will send you my attempt at writing what we just talked about, and then share that with the commission. I'm scribbling some notes here as I'm talking. Okay, so what is your opinion about mowing this spring and putting cardboard down to create homes for the 600 seedlings that we're going to put in? Is the commission comfortable with that?
For my part, I thought that made sense and will probably give them the best chance at survival that first year when they're trying to establish their roots. I think just trying to limit competition is going to be good. So I didn't have any concerns with that.
Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I thought that was fine too. This is just buffer zone is what we're talking about, right?
Well, no, no, no,
No,
oh, no, this is, no,
in the wetland too.
it's in the wetland. So, I think a lot of the wetland, well, I think of the wetland, I'm talking about BVW1, the one closer to Leverett Road.
Yeah.
That to me seems to have almost like two components to it. There's the delineated wetland, and then there's the almost like little stream that goes through there, which I don't know where that comes from, but even in the winter, you can see water in there. And so, that's, and that has been filled with, what is it?
Wheatgrass.
Canary reed grass, is it, which is an invasive species. And we've tried to work on that, but what I want to do is plant things in there this year, hopefully to outcompete that. But yes, there will be planting and thus cardboarding in the wetland.
Okay, and so this is really like, this is restoration, you could call it that. And so these are mostly all in the wetland areas. These are going to be wetland plants, right? They're all
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be wetland grasses and wetland.
We're putting wetland plants in the wetland area, and we're putting upland plants in the more sort of transitional buffer zone. I mean, some of the wetland is not very wet, I got to tell you. And so we're putting in a mix of plants so that we end up with success. And, the plants that are in the right place will end up surviving. We'll do our best to guess and put the right ones in the right place, but they'll make the final call on that.
All right. Sounds good to me.
So, okay, so then our plan for now is to mow as soon as we can persuade the highway department to do that, put down cardboard, and I think we will plant in the fall when we have some suitable places to put in all these plugs that we're going to put in. And we will be conducting a survey of invasives early in the growing season, and we'll hand remove what we can find, and we won't let any fruits form.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Sounds like you guys are.
We're trying. We're trying. Some of this is out of our wheelhouse, but we're learning as we go.
All right. It looks like we have one hand up from the public. Mary Lou.
Hi, Mary Lou Kanka. I'm not sure. I think this question is for the commissioners here from the conservation group. I know that there was talk about the privacy hedges to, give the Blue House their given privacy. So I don't know if that's part of this all plan that Penny is speaking about with you. And if it is, I'm curious to learn the status. You know, I was in the library today and I'm like, oh, Nancy's house is this shade of blue. Like, you know, you can definitely see it. Thank you.
Penny, you were telling me about it. Why don't you respond?
No, I'll respond. We are in the process of sourcing trees and shrubs to plant this spring. It's a big job to come up with 41 trees and 71 shrubs, but the screening plants in that little gap along the east property line where Nancy's house is a high priority, and those will be in as soon as we're able to do it. You know, everything, as you were saying with the trail project, everything is more complicated and time consuming than you might imagine, but we're working hard on all of that. And certainly the majority of things, and definitely the shrubs you're talking about, Mary Lou, will be in by early summer. Late spring, I would say.
Great.
Thank,
All right. Well,
I,
thank you. Oh,
yay, I look forward. Thank you.
all right. Thank you for all that information, Penny. So I guess we should take a vote. So there was general consensus that mowing in the spring is all right, and placement of the cardboards in order to sort of treat the soil, as Penny's report said. Or are we waiting? Are we waiting for next time? What were you
Well, I
gonna say,
think
Scott?
I was just, I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair. I think what we were saying is it's the one-time mowing this spring is what we were talking about to establish,
Right.
which I think that's what you're saying.
And then,
Right.
and then I'm still working on the long-term plan, and I will look to you again, Scott, to hopefully get that to where we all feel good about it.
Right. Yeah. That plan, work with Scott and bring it back to another meeting. And that would be great. But it sounds like you'd like a vote right now on the one-time mowing and the placement of the cardboard and things. And starting to do some of the planting there in that wetland, wetland
Right.
one, I think it's called.
Right. I think we'll probably put plugs in the fall. My understanding is the goal of the cardboard is to kill the vegetation underneath. So
Yeah.
it's competing with the new plugs, but we'll plant plugs densely so that, you know, there aren't big gaping holes out there.
And you want to do the mowing right away, and then also the cardboard right away, right before
right.
things develop. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's vote on that then. I'm looking for a motion to approve a spring mowing as soon as possible and placement of cardboard to prepare the soils at the library site.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. Roll call. Fox.
Aye.
Tommy McDuffie.
Aye.
Khan.
Aye.
And Douglas.
Aye.
And Wilson. Aye. All right. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Can't wait to see this place in 2 years. It's going to be fabulous.
I know. I can't either. Thank you for all your work. You too,
Yeah.
Mary Ann.
Thanks. Yeah, it's fun.
If I had more time.
Yeah.
So we will be looking for a lot of help planting all those plugs come fall. So
Yeah. Well, let us know. You know, as a committee,
it would be like a bonding day, in-person bonding day for the commission.
Right.
Okay, so can I just ask, I just want to ask a couple of clarifying questions because I'll help Penny with the plan. So we want to have goals for reduction of the invasives, and then goals for the success of the plantings, and then a mowing plan that gives us flexibility. If we find that the mowing is detrimental, we could come up with a different mowing plan than
And then come
so we
back.
could have annual mowing unless, but we would evaluate the success of that and adjust as appropriate. Does that sound right? Okay. Okay, good. Okay,
Great.
thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Be continued.
Yes. We'll see you again soon.
Okay.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Bye. All right. So we have on our agenda number 7, discussion of draft regulations for Shutesbury conservation areas. But it is almost 9 o'clock. I'm sorry, Scott, but would you mind if we moved it to our next meeting?
No, actually, I think when we first talked about it, I think we talked about putting it on the agenda for next week's or
Yeah,
the,
it was,
the
it
next
says it
meeting
in your,
anyways.
yeah, it says in your email that we were going to discuss over 28th, so.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, good. Then we are.
I just saw it on the agenda tonight, so I didn't know if there were questions that people had or well, let me just ask, is there anything else that people want ahead of the meeting, or is that like a good place to start?
I have no idea where the town properties are. I would love that map. I know it's out there because there's one at the lake that somebody at the lake who was a president of the association had a map, because there's also a ton of town-owned properties around the lake that the town has taken. And I just haven't been able to track down who has that map.
Mateo might know. Mateo?
So I have a list of all the parcels that are town owned, and it is separated by conservation area or not conservation area.
Right.
It's not a map, but it's pulled from the assessor's list.
Yeah.
As far as the conservation areas go, there's just the handful of them though, right? Like I'm assuming the regulations we're talking about, Scott, would not be for
Correct.
town property in general. It's just for those that are designated.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was for, okay, maybe I misunderstood. Okay.
No, it's just what we have power over.
Right.
As a
Which
commission, we only have power over conservation land.
Oh, see, I thought okay, I misunderstood that. Um, okay. So yeah, I don't know. I generally know where some of them are, but I don't know where everything is. Yeah, it would be nice to know where that is.
Mateo, would you mind just sending around the list with the parcel numbers and maybe the street?
Yeah, I can
And
send
then
that.
we can all, because then all you have to do is go into the town assessor map. And once you know the parcel, and you can just Google where it is, and especially if there's not that many of them.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's a way that I can actually highlight those specific parcels in the map
Okay.
and send that out.
That would be
Okay.
great. That'd be great.
And I had a question for Mateo. We got a voicemail from a Lynn Tron, who said that they bought property in Shutesbury, but they didn't state what the property was or what they were looking for. It was one of the voicemails that were passed on to us since our last meeting.
Yeah, the land use clerk phone and the town clerk phone, we get a lot of phone calls from people who either have just bought land in town or are interested in buying a particular property and think that we have like the plot plans and well location.
Okay.
Gotcha. And we have a lot more information than we do. But I did get back to that person and explained what we did have and what we don't have, which in the case of the parcel that she bought was not much. We didn't have much information.
And then, Beth, based on our visit, is that going to be on the agenda, that catch basin and going back to the original approved plan?
Oh, you mean the at the library, the sedimentation basin?
Right.
I mean, I think we can figure it out, and then we can let Penny and Mary Ann know. Maybe if they're coming back to share their revised management plan, we could talk with them then. It sounds like we need to get back to them before the landscape folks show up, which sounds like it's pretty soon. So I think even this coming week, I need to look at the measurements and then go out and take a look in the field and let them know if we feel like it has filled in or not. I mean, I don't think it needs to go on an agenda. It's just something we have to do and get them the information. And if you want to come with me, that would be fun.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we could set a date to do that. And then I didn't know if you had chance to talk to or figure out whether there were any trees that came down on the other when we had gone to the site visit on Lake Drive for the Tomasetti property.
All I did was just look at the assessor's map and measure from kind of approximately where it looked like the work was done, and it was over 100 feet from the bank of the lake. So I think the work that they did there was not in our jurisdiction.
Okay, that was my question because
yeah. Tom, you have your hand up? Tom Seifert?
It's a lot. Yeah, just as a quick tip, if it might help the person who asked about town-owned parcels and a map. If you use I think it's the assessor's map, accessgis.com/Shutesbury-MA, the one that you always can look for tax purposes and whatnot. And for the search, just do town of Shutesbury, and it will pop up with all of them pinned. It's a very quick way. It may not be an official, but it's a very good way to see every parcel owned.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. Right. Any unanticipated business? Great. Okay. That's it then. I take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Seconded.
All right. Douglas?
Aye.
Khan?
Aye.
Fox?
Aye.
Tommy McDuffie?
Aye.
And Wilson? Aye. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thanks,
Have
everybody.
a good night. See you in 2 weeks. We might have a site visit before that, but okay.
Okay.